Greetings, students, and welcome to English 1A Freshman Comp. Wow, this is going to be a really fast ride, 10 weeks. We start today, March 13th, and we end on May 27th. And we're going to be speeding through. Hopefully you can dedicate 7 hours to work and the same to reading and working on these various assignments that I have lined up for you. But it should be a fun ride. Yeah, just don't get behind in the reading. We are going to be using this particular book, Let's Talk, a pocket rhetoric, and rhetoric is the art of persuasive discourse. So you're going to learn how to argue. You're going to learn how to listen better. You're going to learn how to base your ideas and opinions on evidence, as opposed to just it is what it is because I say it is. And the book moves pretty quickly. It's not that large insofar as size, and it's pretty comprehensive. And there are these really wonderful exercises called reflect, with an exclamation point at the end of each chapter. And I talk about this in more detail in the syllabus, I think, or in the letter I sent you. I'm not quite certain. But anyway, it's really, really great to have you all joining me. There's a lot of you. There's 35, and I'm really excited about that. And I certainly hope that 35 of you finish. You start with an A, and if you do the work, and on the essays, you get above passing grade. A passing grade is a C, and if that's your best work, then that's good. Yeah, I hope that you all kind of like fly through the class, and you do really, really well, and you have comfortable landings, and you know how to ask questions. Do not suffer in silence. If you have a question, make sure that you email me through Canvas. That's a really great way to get in touch with me. If the office hours do not work for you, the office hours are Monday from 12 to 1 and Thursdays from 12:30 to 2. Not a lot of people visit me in my office hours, so I presume maybe the times don't work. So if they don't, send me an email in Canvas and we can arrange a conversation. I don't work on weekends, but Monday through Friday, I'm sure you could find some time to get together with me to iron out any questions you might have. We're going to try to do some group work, which means that hopefully all of you all are starting today, all 35 of you all, and that you check in daily to make sure that you don't miss anything, and that if you have student responses, that you get back to your classmates expeditiously and on time, so that people aren't left hanging and wondering, sort of what the response is. Our class is only as successful as we make it, right? So we have to be present. I participated in this particular literary project. Right now, San Francisco Bay, Uncommon Ground, BIPOC Journeys to Creative Activism. So I have a chapter in this book, and I'm going to make a copy for you in lieu of your purchasing the book. I'm not having you buy the book because I'm in it necessarily. I'm having you buy the book because there are some really, really phenomenal artists in this particular publication. And one of them is Adrian Arias, and he is located in San Francisco, and he has he's a visual artist, he's a painter, he's also a poet. He's bilingual, so he writes in Spanish and in English. He does movement work, and they're going to actually have an event toward the end of this month in San Francisco where there's going to be live painting and other types of activities. I actually participated in an art project with his was called Tarot in Pandemic, and it's tarot cards, and I wrote I wrote a poem for one of the pieces that an artist painted, and I don't have it right in front of me. Otherwise, I show it to you. But we had a really wonderful conversation, and I link to it in the syllabus if you want to watch it. And later on, you can read the chapter in here. And I also I'm going to give you a copy of Seju Sego's the editor's chapter. So you're going to have two chapters. You're going to have mine. You're going to have Shizu's, and I might give you a copy of Adrian's just because I give you the interview. But the library is supposed to have purchased the book. So if you're low on funds, this book is not that expensive. But you know, if you have no money, then everything's expensive. So if you're low on funds, go check in with the library. We have an embedded library, and I haven't set that up yet in the Canvas shell, but we have an embedded librarian, which means that you don't have to go to the library to ask questions. Joshua Rose is going to be checking the discussion that he created for us. And if you have any questions around research, around MLA, documentation, which is the one of the takeaways from this course is that when you finish English 1A or freshman comp, you know how to do academic research, and you know how to document that research so that we know how you know what you know. And there's a specific way of documenting your research. And Modern Language Association, or MLA, is how we document research in the humanities. If we were in social sciences, we would be documenting in a different way. It's called APA. If we were newspaper journalists, we'd be documenting in another way. So each discipline has its own way of documenting the resources. So in this class, to pass this class, you have to know how, one, to do research and be able to separate what you know from what you don't know, and document other people's ideas and other people's um, other people's ideas and work. You can't take someone else's credit. You have to give them credit for how they uh, enhanced or deepened your understanding of a topic. Let's say the topic is art for social change, which is what these artists that are documented in this book, they're all artists, and they are looking at problems in their communities and or in their lives, or something specific that affects them that they know has a larger reach than just their personal lives. So anyway, let's say the topic was foster care, and maybe one of these artists, and in this case, Tarita McKell, came up in the foster care system, and it was real brutal for her. So she knows that there are other children that are in the foster care system. Presently, California has a really terrible foster care system record. I don't know what it's like in the rest of the country, but California is not doing really well, and it's been a long time that it has been doing well. So when you read her story, um, it's it makes you want to do something to change that, but it also validates the experiences of so many young people who are coming up in that system. We used to have a program at the College of Alameda in Peralta for children that have come up in the foster care system and aged out, because there are a lot of things that are associated with coming up in that kind of system, and all of them are negative. Not that everyone who comes up in foster care has a bad experience. No, not at all. But I'm just saying, as a rule, in California, we are not doing well by our young people who need our support and our protection. So anyway, Tarita McKell's story in here is, oh my God, it is really, really phenomenal. Let me see if I can find it for you. Yeah, Foster Care Chronicles and Beyond. And I've known Tarita McKell for a long time, and I never knew this story. So it's kind of interesting. This is Tarita McKell. This is her story, and I didn't even know know her story. And yeah. So all of these artists are located here in the Bay Area now. We might not have all started here. Like my background is I'm a Southerner. I was born uh, in New Orleans, Louisiana, which is in the South. And when I was born, there was no civil rights act, and people couldn't vote. My mother and father could not vote legally, and there was what was called Jim Crow, which was a system that was really similar to slavery. If you were a Black person, you didn't have certain rights, like you couldn't drink out of the same water fountains, you couldn't go to the bathroom, you couldn't be served like white people were served, at the counter. You couldn't sit down, you couldn't try on clothes in the department stores. You couldn't work in certain fields. You could only do certain types of work, no matter what your educational level was. And you couldn't, a lot of times, go to institutions of higher education, let alone high schools, where they had, good materials and books. I'm talking public high schools where the Black community was supporting them with their tax dollars, yet the Black children that were in that family could not go to these schools. Swimming pools. My uncle drowned because my family couldn't go to the public pool where there was a pool, and he drowned in the river. Um, and so things like that. And then, where I was born in Charity Hospital is no longer operational because of Katrina. It was torn down after that. But at Charity Hospital during Katrina, they were killing people. They were saying, "Oh, you're older, so you don't need us to, you don't need this water. We'll give the water." So they were, and those doctors and nurses that decided that they could decide who lived and who died ended up, being charged with manslaughter or murder or whatever. Anyway, they didn't get away with it, but it took a while. But when I was born, my mother said that if you cried, the nurses would come to the rooms and they would slap you and tell you to shut up. So my mother didn't talk, didn't cry, didn't talk, didn't do anything. And so finally, when she was having me, because my mother was really young when she had me, I wasn't coming out. So they stuck these uh, forceps inside and yanked me out, and I had these creases in my uh, temples for a long time because babies' heads are really malleable. The bones are not fully formed, so they can move. Um, and so yeah, they just yanked me out, tore my mother all up. So yeah, because she was a Black woman and she didn't have a lot of money. But the main thing is, there's just sort of unequal treatment because of a person's race and because of a person's gender, person's sex. I was born female. My mother was female, and so anyway, I'm sort of going off on a tangent here. So what I want to do is I want to show you. I have disabled a lot in Canvas. I suggest you start with the modules. That's how we're going to be moving in the class. And I haven't set up everything yet, like this movie. I'm making it now, but I'm going to show you how to find some things, and then I'm going to put in the research, the library research video. You can watch that in advance if you like. That Joshua Rose, our librarian, has created for you, and then I've got to make copies of these chapters for you and put them in so you can read them. And first, I'll show you. I'm going to share my screen, and I'll show you where a few items are, so that uh, you can get started. I'm trying to figure out like how to pace it. I don't want to overwhelm you, but this is a accelerated class, which means you are going to be uh, moving quickly through the material. And so yeah, I'm having trouble here. Let me pause for a moment.